Bonjour mesdames et messieurs. Je fais ma présentation en anglais parce que je parle français comme une vache espagnole. All right, so we've heard a lot of presentations in the past 2 days about SD-WAN and why SD-WAN is taking off at such a rapid pace. I'll talk first about some of the challenges that organizations face in this cloud-first world. I'll then talk about application-driven SD-WANs, and we've heard a number of presentations that talk about applications, and after all, that's what an SD-WAN is all about, is connecting users to applications, no matter where the user is and no matter where the applications reside. I'll then talk about application availability and performance, and the very first talk this morning, I forget the gentleman's name, but he made a very important point, is that you can have an application that's highly available that's not performing well, or you can have an application that's performing well that is not delivering a high availability, and what our users in branch offices requires both. They need both. I'll talk about the legacy branch WAN architecture that is just not designed for this new cloud-first world, and we'll talk about some of the alternatives for that in what Silver Peak calls the thin branch WAN edge. And then hopefully I'll have enough time to talk about a couple of real-world customer examples, some of our over 525 customers that are now using our SD-WAN solution in production. You've all seen these types of statistics, more and more workloads moving to the cloud. Believe it or not, 80% of business is transacted from branch offices, either from employees working in branch offices or customers accessing the business through or via a branch office. More and more organizations are supporting multiple WAN connections at the branch office for availability reasons, but also for performance reasons, and that's again one of the benefits that an SD-WAN can deliver. And then finally, an interesting statistic, or rather a projection by Gartner, is that by 2020, more than 50% of branch office refreshes are going to be based on SD-WAN technologies and not on the traditional router-based architectures. So what do customers really want? They need increasing support of cloud applications. So again, more than 70% of the applications are moving to the cloud. But if I'm working in a branch office and I'm accessing a cloud application, why do I want to backhaul that traffic back to headquarters or a hub site and add that additional latency that's going to impact my performance and potentially the availability of that application? Why not go directly to the internet? Well, there are challenges to doing that reliably and to doing that securely, and I'll talk about that. Complex WAN architectures, and we've seen a number of presentations that show the stack up of equipment that is typical at a branch office. You've got a router, you've got a firewall, you might have a WAN optimization appliance, you might have an SD-WAN appliance. That's called infrastructure sprawl. The lack of automation and being able to steer traffic intelligently on an application-aware basis, but do that in an automated way. And then when I have to make a change, a move, an add, or a change to the way traffic is handled, I want to do that centrally, because I might be an organization with 3 branch locations, and that's pretty easy to go and touch every device. But if I've got 300 or 3,000 devices, that's very, very difficult. And so how can I do this by doing it centrally to lower costs? And how can I lower the capital expense as well? So there were a couple survey results shown. In fact, a gentleman yesterday afternoon showed a survey that Silver Peak did with a different organization at the very beginning of 2016, and cost came out as number 1, the reason for implementing an SD-WAN. And what's interesting is this survey from Frost & Sullivan was done towards the end of 2016, and cost is still important, but users are realizing that cost is not the most important reason for adopting an SD-WAN. It's the agility you get, the ability to either spin up a new site very, very rapidly, or if I do want to make a change to my QoS or security policies, or I add a new application, I want to be able to do that very, very rapidly. So that's the first point there. And then optimizing that cloud connectivity for SaaS performance and web application performance, but again, to do that securely. So cost is still important, but it's not the most important benefit that users are realizing from an SD-WAN. So if I'm an enterprise, and this is important for service providers to understand too, and I know about half of the audience is service providers, but users at the branch are looking to improve application performance. They're also looking to improve application availability and network availability because remember, 80% of business is being transacted at the branch. So I need the branch network, the branch wide area network to be available as well as delivering that performance. I want to use broadband at the branch actively. I don't want it to just sit as an idle backup. And there's been a lot of discussion about SD-WAN and how MPLS is going to go away. And what we've come to learn is MPLS is going to be with us for a long time. Customers aren't going to toss out that tried and true technology of MPLS anytime soon, but they want to augment MPLS with higher speed broadband, and they want to use broadband actively, and they want to use it intelligently. So automated traffic steering. So not all web traffic is the same. And those of you familiar with web addresses know that port 80 traffic or port 443 traffic for HTTPS or encrypted traffic, some of those applications are trusted and you know them and you want to handle them one way. Other traffic that uses that same TCP IP port is not trusted, and some of it is unknown or even suspicious. So I need to be able to handle that traffic granularly, and we'll look at what the requirement is to be able to do that. I already talked about centralized orchestration and zero-touch provisioning to make it easy and agile to add a branch site or to make a move and add or a change. And then I do need to migrate gracefully. No organization with 300 or 3,000 branches is going to convert every branch to SD-WAN overnight. So we need an architecture that is compatible with existing routers and existing branch WAN architecture. Let me go back to this notion of different kinds of web traffic. In this example, I've got certain trusted SaaS applications like Office 365, Box, Dropbox, Marketo, Workday, et cetera. And I want to send that traffic directly to the internet from the branch. I'll rely on SSH or SSL sessions that get set up by the app because I know those apps and I trust them. But there are other applications that we call home from work. We know users do home from work. They use Facebook, they use Google Docs, Google applications. Some of it's for business, some of it's for personal, but that can represent some risk to the branch. So I want to steer that to maybe a secure web gateway. And these policies could be different, but in my example, I've got that traffic going to Zscaler. And then certain untrusted applications or traffic going to or coming from a country in which I don't do business, I do want to backhaul that back to the headquarters site where I've got an expensive but very capable next generation firewall from a Palo Alto or a Fortinet or a Checkpoint or whatever. So I need to steer this traffic very granularly, but because of network address translation, I have to identify that traffic on the very first packet. And deep packet inspection, as those of you know, takes 2 to 12 packets, depending upon whether the traffic is encrypted or in the clear. And so Silver Peak has developed a technology that can very reliably, with like 98 or 99% accuracy, identify packets on the very first packet so I can steer them on the right path. Because once a session is on the path, you can't move it. Okay? And if you'd like more information on that, please come and see us at booth number 9. So let me address performance and availability to build on what the gentleman at the beginning of today's sessions talked about. A technology such as tunnel bonding allows me to use multiple transport services together to create a single logical bonded tunnel. So we've heard about traffic steering to an appropriate path. The notion here is that I use both paths, and it could be a bonded tunnel could be 2 paths, 3, 4, it could be more than 2. In this example, it's 2. And with the ability to do packet-based load sharing, I can send traffic from one single session across multiple links, keep that traffic in order, and even do proportional load balancing. So if the internet's 100 megabits and the MPLS is 10 megabits, I'd steer the traffic in a proportional manner across those 2 links, and I'd keep that traffic in order with packet order correction capability. A couple of benefits. 1, I get the higher performance of the aggregated bandwidth of those links. 2, if one of them fails, I get an instantaneous failover to the remaining link. And if for some reason the tunnel itself fails or both of those links fail, I can get sub-second failover to a backup transport service. And usually without interrupting the application. But we know that there are losses on internet services, and there are actually losses on MPLS service. Typical MPLS packet loss is in the 0.1% range. Packet loss on the internet can range from 0.5% to sometimes a couple of percent. So the ability to do error correction can minimize or eliminate retransmissions that keep applications running and keep the performance up. And so what I'd like to do is to be able to correct for packet loss, correct for out of order packets, and keep the overlay, that application overlay, pristine and clean. And so another important aspect of enabling application SLAs and using multiple transport services in a bonded tunnel is the statistical improvement in availability. And those of you with a high availability background will appreciate this pretty simple math. As I can take an MPLS service with 99.5% availability, and that's pretty good. It's only 44 hours of downtime per year. And an internet service with 98% availability, and sometimes it's 99, sometimes it's less than 98. But if I do the statistics on that, these two seemingly pretty good services become incredibly good. And if you want to go through the math with me later, come and do that. But if you had two 4.9s services and you combine them statistically, you can actually achieve 6 9s. So the power of statistics is pretty amazing for delivering high application availability at an affordable cost at the branch office. So the legacy branch WAN edge, as I talked about, is built up. We've got a LAN switch. I've probably got Wi-Fi. But on the WAN side, a WAN optimization appliance, and we'll talk later about WAN optimization if we've got time, a router, an SD-WAN appliance, potentially, and a firewall. And this network-based model is rigid, it's complex, it's inefficient, and it's expensive. It's hard to change policies. You got to manually touch everything. And so what if I could simplify this with an SD-WAN appliance that combines WAN optimization, routing, a stateful firewall, and the SD-WAN capabilities in a box that's literally this big, or in a box that is this big. And so this box here at the branch can support 100 megabits per second of WAN bandwidth, supporting 2 different services. It can support up to 25 megabits per second of WAN optimization, and it will also do a stateful firewall and provide BGP routing and later OSPF routing. Don't let me forget that. And so this application-driven model provides streamlined management. It's simple, it's agile, it's cost-effective, and maybe most importantly, it improves application performance and availability. Let's talk about service providers for a few minutes. Again, we know that half of you in the audience are service providers. There's a lot of SD-WAN products out there, and there's more and more SD-WAN services coming about. So you as a service provider, how can you differentiate your SD-WAN service from somebody else's? And so we bring up the notion of tiered services, gold, silver, bronze, however you want to characterize them. But moving from a basic SD-WAN service to having optional WAN optimization, to supporting visibility and analytics, possibly advanced security capabilities. And I'd love to talk to you more about how some of our service provider partners are providing differentiated tiered services to drive new revenue streams, drive increased customer retention, and even to expand their footprint in regions where they don't actually operate transport services. We talked about the need for a graceful migration. Again, no enterprise is going to move overnight if they've got lots of branch offices to an SD-WAN model. So I'm going to continue to have branches for some period of time during that migration that are going to continue to be doing legacy traditional routing. I need an overlay model that doesn't force me to replace my router. So in this particular diagram, I show the SD-WAN appliances with the square with the triangle in it as being inline. It could also run out of band. And then over time, more and more customers are looking to replace that firewall, looking to replace that router, looking to replace the WAN op appliance, and integrate those functions into a single WAN edge solution, intelligent WAN edge solution. So at Silver Peak, we talk about 6 different use cases, and there could be more. Some of these you'll be familiar with, some are not. And service providers offer solutions to support these same use cases for enterprise, but to facilitate the hybrid WAN, simply being able to use multiple forms of transport, using them all actively, using them intelligently. Simplifying the WAN architecture, not only to consolidate equipment, but to consolidate the management functions, to streamline that management, make it easier, centralize it. So I do it once at a headquarters and push policies or policy changes out to the branch offices. Increasing app availability, we talked about that. Augmenting MPLS, and again, I don't think MPLS is going to go away anytime soon, but we know customers are wanting to use broadband actively, and even 4G, and when 5G comes about, use it to augment MPLS. Increasing SaaS performance by going directly to the internet for those applications that I trust, but for those that I don't trust, being able to granularly steer them to meet a security policy objective. And then accelerating WAN deployments. So a couple of quick customer case studies. Radial omnichannel commerce technology from eBay. They were looking for improved VoIP responsibilities or reliability and resiliency. Their business depended on call centers. So being able to get sub-second failover by using multiple transport services and packet-based load sharing, they were able to do that. Moving from 1 or 2 MPLS connections to 1 gave them cost savings as well. Bentley is an engineering firm. It's about a 50, 60 site SD-WAN deployment. Inefficient or insufficient visibility of application performance, network changes taking too long, and again, some cost savings as well. Simplified site management and doing that internet breakout. And then Interroll makes hardware for conveyor belts that's used in manufacturing systems and even baggage handling at airports. And they were looking for better SaaS performance at branch offices, poor performing IaaS. And again, from that backhaul and incurring that additional latency of backhauling to headquarters, being able to do that directly. And then the high cost and complexity of MPLS. So with an SD-WAN, there are lots of benefits that an enterprise can realize, and of course, new revenue opportunities for service providers. And we believe that, and our service provider partners are telling us, is that they're actually able to increase revenue streams with an SD-WAN solution and not decrease revenue streams by losing MPLS business. And that's something that's only come about recently. With that, I will finish up. Please come and see us at stand number 9, straight in the back. Be happy to talk more. Thank you very much.